All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into the Nifty Q Show. We're interviewing founders, leaders, and builders and artists in the NFT and pitchers in the NFT space. Today I'm chatting with Tommy Wilson, NFT artist and professional pitcher in the Baltimore Orioles organization. We'll be discussing being able to balance both professional lives, his latest drops and upcoming releases, NFTs and sports, and much more. Tommy, I appreciate you taking your busy schedule that is being a professional pitcher and stopping by the studio today.
No problem, man. I appreciate you having me.
So how do you let's just get started with it. How do you balance both, man? You're in the midst of your season right now. Obviously the middle of the MLB season. Like how do you manage your season just being a professional pitcher to start off with?
Yeah, I mean, the baseball side of things, I guess I'm used to, right? Like, been doing that since 2018, just kind of like the normal schedule of like showing up to the field at like 1 or 2 p.m., leaving the field at like 11, 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., I guess that would be. So that was already busy in the first place, and then throw NFTs into it, and it's a whole nother story. So just trying to stay on top of everything as much as I can.
How's the professional athlete life treating you right now? I know you said that you're currently, on the injured list and you're looking to rehab, so you're down in Florida right now. How's life
Yeah.
as a professional pitcher as is?
Yeah, right now, I mean, yeah, I'm injured, which is, not the best thing, not what anybody wants. So I'm rehabbing down in Florida, which gives me a little more time on the art side of things. So, trying to do as much as I can on that front. But yeah, baseball's good, man. I mean, I can't complain. Just trying to get healthy, get back out on the field, and do my thing. Hopefully soon. Yeah, shouldn't be too much longer.
Okay, we'll get into that guest background here in just a second. I want to hear how you kind of got drafted and how you found NFTs and stuff. I want to give a quick
For
shout out
sure.
to the Pirates though.
Oh
Unfortunately,
my goodness.
I'm wearing my jersey. I'm an adopted fan. I moved there like 4 years ago, and I kind of took
Okay.
them as my hometown team as such. So got to go to a lot of Pirates
Okay.
games at PNC.
For sure, you're repping. Yeah, they're having a good series against the Dodgers right now, so they're playing some good baseball.
Yeah, my buddy said if we were playing the Dodgers every game, we would be like 139 and 29 or something like that.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah,
something about those teams when they play a good team. It's like they just decide to turn it on.
absolutely, brother. So let's. I want to hit a couple of like current market updates. I want to get your take on like how you think the NFT market's going now. Obviously, like we said,
Sure.
you're a professional pitcher, but you're also doing the NFT thing, so you're having to stay up on the space. What do you make of the bear market like happening right now? Are we coming out of it? I know there was a big OpenSea piece that just hit. Nate Chastain, who is the co-founder,
Yeah.
or he was high up in that organization. He just got federally charged as well. Solana's down, so
Yeah.
things are just burning to the ground as we speak.
Yeah, dude. It's been wild. I mean, I have no idea, I guess, when things will, turn around. I'm sure it won't be that much longer, but I think every time that we go into like a, quote unquote mini bear market or whatever you want to call it, I think it's a super cool chance for me and a lot of artists to like really like lock in on their art and stay focused on what they do best and kind of like able to just like block out the noise because everybody's just like full panic. It's like, okay, great, like I'll spend a little less time on Twitter, a little more time on my art, you know what I mean? So I've always found it to be a good opportunity to kind of to really take a leap, I guess, with my art and lock it in. So who knows? We'll see. I'm kind of trying to just focus on my own thing for now. So we'll see what happens.
I promise that we'll get to that here, Tommy. But I do
Yeah,
want to ask one last question before we get into like your background.
for sure.
Like, what are you investing in, or what had you invested in while we were kind of in that bull run? Were you like super heavily invested in the NFT art market? Did you get into the PFP movement and things like
Yeah,
that?
I got pretty into the PFP movement. I thought it was fun. I think one of the first PFPs I bought where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna take a chance here. Actually, no, like a little further back, I bought a Cool Cat. Like that was my first ever like PFP purchase. I remember I bought a cool cap for like point 0.8, and then it like the next day they like jumped to like 1.6 or 1.8, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on here? So I sold it. They obviously proceeded to go to like 10, 15, whatever it was. And then I bought a doodle like shortly
Okay.
thereafter,
So you
which
had
I
some
was
good
like,
advice.
yeah, it gets better though. It gets better. I bought a doodle like the day they revealed, just because I thought they were sick. Like I loved the art. I was like, these are really cool. Like I'm just gonna buy one because I liked it. Still have it. So and I still love everything that their team is doing. And then my biggest bag, like kind of accidentally, was the Clone X because I bought the Fawosha shoes like way back. With Fawosha's nifty drop with artifacts like a long time ago. And from that, I was able to get like 6 clone mints. Ended up selling 2. And yeah, so I still have a few clone X's, and actually I have an unrevealed one still. So we'll see if I can hang on to that or not.
Yeah, we you took some profits though. I commend you for that. A lot
Yeah.
of us degens don't do that. We just kind of hold and we become long-term bag holders in that sense. So
Yeah. I yeah, I wasn't really too like I was like, yeah, this is probably gonna be a bad move, but like everybody says, like it's always good to take a little profits. Everybody's got IRL stuff. I'm having a baby soon here, so
nice,
it is what
congrats.
it is. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Ronan the Collector too, because we had you on all the way back light years ago in like
Literally.
2020 when he
Yeah.
had, I forgot what he even called it. It was like an artist spotlight series that we have still on this channel. We
Yeah.
dabble here in the art sector, of course, but quick shout out there, and also shout out to you, man, for I mean being a 2-year vet at this point.
Yeah, dude. Big shout out to Ronan. One of the first people that I ever like. I think, well, one of the first people I ever like actually jumped on a call with from the NFT space back in like June or July 2020. And then yeah, dude, like what a ride! I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary, quote unquote, of my first NFT drop. So that's pretty crazy. And yeah, Ronan was there at the very start. What a guy.
Do you have a 2-year anniversary like drop plan or anything like that? Anything special in mind?
Not this year. I did like a 1-year thing last year, which was fun, but I don't have anything planned for the 2-year. I'll probably do like a 1 and then like fifth year, or like a 10. I don't know, something like that. But nothing planned for the 2-year this year.
I really like the way you've experimented as an artist. Like your latest Mad World drops are what I envision, like LADZ City, which is the kind of like environment that we've
Yeah,
always like said that we've been in, which is like a cyberpunk city vibe. And I really really like the Mad World drops.
absolutely.
But you experiment with everything. You've done sports drops, you've done physical merch, you've done all of these cool things in your time in the space, and I just want to commend you there. But I don't want to pat you on the back too much. This isn't just let's blow smoke podcast, man. Let's go into your background a
Yeah,
little bit here and talk about kind of how you found the NFT space. I'm interested in that MLB connection. The conversations that you're having with other professional athletes too. So tell me how you kind of
for
found the
sure.
NFT space, man, and then how you've transitioned to kind of today.
Yeah, for sure. So it started when our season got canceled in 2020 because of COVID. And honestly, like I was just looking for jobs to obviously provide for the family and whatnot. Just because like baseball shut down, that's my main gig. So I was like doing the whole like Indeed thing, looking at different jobs, and I like really wanted to get into like some sort of creative thing because I had done a podcast, I'd done YouTube, I had done some art stuff, kind of my whole life, just dabbling. So I knew I wanted to do something like that. Um, and then one day I was looking through Twitter. I don't know how it popped up. I think somebody I followed retweeted Micah Johnson's tweet. He tweeted out that he was looking for help on a project um, with After Effects, which is like a video editing software, kind of an animation software. And I knew how to use it, and he was specifically asking for a minor leaguer because he knows the grind, and he knew kind of what we were going through at the moment. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm a minor leaguer. I know how to use After Effects. So I messaged Micah and I was like, hey, dude, like I could help out. And then sure enough, it was just helped him out animating a portion of his first. I think it was his first drop on Nifty Gateway, which was like Nifty Gateway drop number 3 or whatever, back when they had numbered them. And yeah, so I helped out Micah, and then was like, dude, this is sick. Like, why not like jump in and do my own thing and make my own art? So yeah, so big shout out to Micah, man. I mean, he's killing it.
Was it on that
But yeah, big
Aku
shout out to
drop?
him
Am I getting that right? Aku, is it what's
it
it?
was the George Floyd like tribute piece. Him and Matt Caesar. Um, yeah, so it wasn't Aku yet, just yet.
How has Micah been supportive of you like throughout your kind of have you guys stayed in contact since you've been in the NFT space, or did he kind of like get you in and then you guys have just kind of stayed in contact there?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed in contact for the first like I would say couple months. He helped me get on Super Air, helped me get in contact with those guys, and then yeah, and then it kind of just like fizzled out. We kind of just ended up doing our own thing, but I got to meet him in Miami at Art Basel, which was really cool. And yeah, so you know we'll say hi here and there and whatnot, and yeah, we're kind of each doing our own thing now.
Yeah, the minor league piece is interesting too, man. I feel like there's a lot of similarities between NFT artists that are trying to make it and MLB pitchers
For
in the
sure.
minor league trying to make it. Is there some kind of synergy there between those two lives?
Yeah, I would say so. I think like there's obviously a large discrepancy between minor league pay and major league pay. So minor league, most minor leaguers are really grinding to support their family and to make a living. And I think that like depending on where you're at, like when you're joining the NFT space, it can be pretty daunting. Like as an artist, if you don't already have a big following, to get into the NFT space and like even like a zero point zero 0.01 or zero point zero 0.02 sale can be like really big, right? So I think there's a level of that kind of like working your way to the top kind of mentality. But it's a little different, I would say, just because of the competitiveness of baseball, and I try not to get too competitive with NFTs because that's not really what I'm here for. But obviously, there's that portion of my brain that's like crazy competitive. So yeah, so they definitely have their similarities, but yeah.
How has that manifested itself in like a day to day? Like, give me an example of when you got too competitive for NFTs and you were just like, I need to. This is not it. Like that, we don't need to be doing
Yeah,
this here.
I think it was when I was getting too into like the PFP trading and like just trying to invest and like thinking I had this whole market figured out, you know what I mean? And like, oh, I know the next Bored Ape, I know this, I'm gonna be trading every day, and I was like getting really like too into it, um, which like took away from my art stuff. So it's just me getting competitive and seeing other people making trades and stuff, and I was like, oh, like I could do that. I could trade better than this guy. You know what I mean? So definitely had to tone that down a bit for sure.
You mentioned the trading taking away from your art. I'm also interested in this balance between being a pitcher and being an artist, right? Like balancing those
For sure.
professional lives. Do you feel like maybe spending too much time on NFTs trickles its way into your time as a pitcher and vice versa? Like does that kind of battle at you like on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis? How do you balance it?
Yeah, yeah, it gets a little tricky. I wouldn't say that like I think the hardest part was when I first came back to baseball from doing NFTs essentially full time during COVID because I was doing NFTs full time basically, besides like working out and throwing still for baseball, up until like June of 2021 was when I first came back to baseball and then doing NFTs, and it was like holy cow, like how am I supposed to like make any art like during season? Like I have no time. Like I was lugging my giant PC on the road with me. Like
Desktop? Oh, because of the
yeah, that
software. Got it.
right, yeah, because I hadn't purchased a higher quality laptop yet, which I have since purchased for going on the road. So yeah, so it was just kind of a mess, and like I was pretty unmotivated art wise. So I definitely like hadn't really got it figured out yet. So that was tough, I would say. But since then, I think I've kind of got a balance and like know how much time I need to spend on my art and like how to keep a balance, and you know what I mean. So I think I got it relatively figured out. But for those first few months of trying to like balance, it was definitely weird and tough for sure.
I feel like in sports it's pretty tough to, or I guess easier to judge success, right? Like you can even look at statistics and say, hey, I'm improving
Right.
here. I need to improve on this other piece because it's it's lower in this category, yada yada yada. In
Right.
art, how do you manage your success? Like how do you manage and both look at, hey, I'm actually improving. Like what's your metric there?
Yeah, I think like at this point of my like NFT and art journey, I've gotten to like a good space where like my gauge of success is like the piece that I envision in my mind and like executing it, right? Like, can I make a piece of art that I like am really into? And like, this is exactly what I wanted to make, and I execute it, right? Because like, you can only get so invested in making sales and who's making what sales and why am I not making sales, right? And I think that I've learned that like some aspects of the NFT space have zero to do with the art, and then other aspects of the NFT space are 100% about the art, right? Like I've noticed like a huge uptick in my sales when I actually got to the point where I wanted to get to, like in my 3D work with making these large scale cities that I've been trying to make for a while, but haven't really gotten to that like point where I wanted to get to. And then once I got to that point, it was like, oh, I'm making big sales now. Um, so I think it's just like putting your like putting your mind in whichever zone you want to be, right? If you want to be somebody that's focused on the art, I think that you'll have, success in making the art that you want to make. But if you're going to be focused on the sales, like, I don't know, that's like a slippery slope and takes away from the art. So I've tried my best to stay focused on making sweet art, and that's kind of like what I've been doing. So, and it's been awesome.
I hesitate to even use this buzzword utility, right? But there's this
Yeah.
idea that like utility needs to be baked into any NFT asset, whatever sector that you're in, whether that be art, gaming,
Yeah.
music, all this stuff. How do you view utility as an artist and into your pieces?
For sure. Yeah, I think there's room for it, and I think that that's like a cool aspect of NFTs and being able to see who owns what piece and not having to like track them down in the physical world, right? Like I'm able to just like airdrop a collector something if I want to. Um, so I think that like there's definitely room for it. I don't think anybody is like has to have any utility, especially artists who are focusing on their art. But yeah, I mean, I'm always like have I always got in the back of my mind like how can I reward a collector. It's definitely not like the first thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about my art first. But yeah, I'm happy to do like collectors drops and like airdrops here and there, just because I think it's a fun aspect and a fun way to use the technology. But I'll definitely stay art focused because I don't think there's any real necessity to have utility to art. So, and there never has been. So yeah, I mean, I think it's cool, but not necessary.
Yeah, I love it, man. Guys, we are here on the Nifty Q Show. Of course, this is on YouTube. We are live right now. I'm going to get to some of these awesome comments here in a sec, but we also post these 24 hours afterwards on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm sitting here with Tommy Wilson, who's taking a break from his life as a professional pitcher and is talking NFT art and his journey. Okay, part of your journey here. It looks like Crypto Buffalo saying, "True story. I went 1-3 with a double against Tommy Wilson on MLB The Show in 2022 or 22."
That's awesome. I love that. I thought he was about to say like in real life. I was like, what? Like who do I not know here? But that's awesome. I'm all here for it. I was so stoked to get in the video game, man. That was like a dream come true. So that's great. I love to hear it.
Tell me about that experience, man. Did you like buy the game and you knew you were in the game, so you were like ready for it, or did it just pop out? Like, how? Tell me about that event.
I think I had no idea, honestly. I didn't know. Like I know they put some minor leaguers in there, usually top prospects and whatnot. I've never been a top prospect, so I kind of just like I used to play the game pretty religiously, like when I was younger. And then a friend of mine sent me a Snapchat of me on the game. So that was really cool, and actually it looked
Did it
pretty
get
much
your
like me.
features right?
I was pretty impressed. Yeah, like blonde, blonde hair, blonde beard. It was pretty solid. So that was really cool to see for sure.
That's awesome, man. So let's get back into this timeline a little bit. You found NFTs. You mentioned like talking with Ronan was a big impetus on getting involved. You mentioned getting with Johnson when he was doing his drop as well. Take me through that
For
timeline
sure.
of the last 2 years up to today, man.
Yeah. So I had my first Nifty Gateway drop, or I reached out to Nifty Gateway once I did that. Once I helped Mike out with his drop, I reached out to Nifty Gateway. I ended up having my first drop in like mid June of 2020. And yeah, I was doing predominantly sports art for probably 6 months to a year. About 6 months, I would say. Like the first 6 months of my NFT journey, I was doing sports art. And then it got to a point where like I realized that I didn't want people to buy my art for who I was portraying. I wanted people to buy my art because they liked my art, right? And then like throughout my journey, I was watching these like guys, these 3D artists make these incredible scenes, like Carlos Marcial, who does the Infinity Rooms, Gavin Shapiro, who does these crazy like loops with these animals. Like those were the first two that I saw where I was like, wow, that is like incredible stuff. So I was like, all right, why don't I try and get into 3D art if I don't want to do sports art anymore? So then I dabbled with some 3D art. It was like a super steep learning curve. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while to really hone it in and figure it out. And then I knew I eventually wanted to create these like cyberpunk type cities, just because I had seen some artists in the space doing that. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I love this theme. I love this style. I would love to make something similar to that. So yeah, that took me another, I don't know how many months. Like I've been almost doing 3D now for like a year and a half, I would say. So yeah, so since then, after those first 6 months, I started doing 3D art, doing it predominantly on Super Air, and yeah, I mean, a whole lot happened in between there, like lots of different drops. Got to collab with Pete Alonso, which was really cool. A whole lot of stuff happened in there, but yeah, I'd say that was um, the main thing in my head when I think of myself doing NFTs was my transition into 3D art has been super fun.
Did you
So
have any imposter syndrome there when you first like started to release these pieces of art? You were like, I am not that good at this. Like, are people going to be, picking up on this, or how are they going to react?
yeah, 100%. I mean, I still do to this day. Like I'm like every day I'm like, man, these people probably think I'm just some grifter baseball player that's just like, just here for, a quick buck or whatever. So every day it's tough. Definitely get some of that imposter syndrome, but I think like overall I try to like go back to the thought of that it was like kind of my journey in 3D, like, but I like minted it all on the blockchain, right? It wasn't like I got good at 3D for a year and then I started minting. I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like minted my journey along the way, um, which was fun and definitely like daunting because I know like some of like looking back at some of my first 3D pieces, it's like, ugh, like that's like, it was cool. Like don't get me wrong, and it's definitely like I look at it as more of like a younger like a rookie card kind of deal, right? Like it's not like it was like they believe those collectors believed in me before I got to where I am today, and I think that's super cool. And I'm happy ultimately that I did mint, my journey along the way. So it's been fun.
These Mad Worlds drops are absolutely getting insane too. I mean, Ronan was trying to pick one up, and then I think it
Yeah,
eventually went for like 7 ETH or something. So they're getting like
yeah,
relatively expensive. Is there a point
yeah.
as an NFT artist where you would say, "Hey, I've reached a certain floor price or a certain price in my art where I know that I can maybe make this a full time gig. I'll just do this," or vice versa. If you get called up to the Orioles, are you putting the NFT scene on hold? How does that all work?
Yeah, that's tricky. I feel like it would be difficult for me to ever go full time in NFTs just because there's never, well, full time financially into NFTs, because there's never ever a guarantee that I'm going to make any sale. Um, so I don't think I could ever go, 100% in financially, just because I still need to provide for a family and whatnot. Um, so yeah, I think that I mean, I'll always be doing it though, like no matter if I'm making sales or not, just because I've become obsessed with making these cities and making this artwork, and minting it is like such a satisfying experience. The whole deal is fantastic. So I'll never leave the space, especially like if I make it to the major leagues and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely an aspect, or like a thought where I'm like, okay, this could, potentially be like I mean, right now it's my main source of income being a minor leaguer. So yeah, I don't think that there's like a dollar amount, where I would say, hey, okay, now I can go in full time in NFTs. But I mean, I'm sure, yeah, obviously there's some artists out there who know they're going to be making sales,
Hmm.
you know, forever. But yeah, I think I just love baseball and art too much to select one or the other. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing both because I love both. So
Yeah, I want to touch on this Mad World drop that we keep referencing. If you guys haven't looked at it, I mean, you've got the super rare hat on right now.
yeah, gotta rep it.
Those have been dropped on super rare.
Yeah.
Amazing detail in these cities, man. Like, take me through the creation process and like what you're thinking about, because in my mind, when we had thought about LADZ City, what Mad World looks like is almost what I would expect, right? Like
Mhm.
what I have seen in my mind, put out
Right,
on a canvas. So
for sure.
what is your thought process when you're like creating these gigantic cities with so much detail?
Yeah, I think it all starts in my head with an idea. Specifically, like the Mad World one, I just pictured like a massive city that is both like top and bottom. So like skyscrapers coming out of, like almost like not like a dome, but without sides. So it's like a parallel world that's kind of like infinite. So I just kind of like imagine something up. I just imagine this guy, like sitting on his like loft, which is like his, condo apartment or whatever, in this like crazy upside down world, and he's kind of like looking off into the distance, like in a slightly, you know, frustrated manner, but
I'm
looking
pulling
at
it up.
like the potential of like what is out there. So it kind of all just starts in my head of picturing it, and then I just have to like jump in my 3D application and kind of just start playing with it. I did like a few iterations of this one actually, and like the first few were like terrible. So it took me took me a few tries to get the right like camera angle and whatnot, but that's pretty par for the course on most of my pieces.
What's the imagery with the singular person? Is that like how you view? Is that yourself? Is that somebody in the? Do you want somebody to like experience it, that being them, or like I'm just interested in being that the focal point of
For
the
sure.
image almost.
Yeah, I would say a pretty good amount of them I imagine as myself. Kind of like I'm doing a series on Nifty Gateway called A Kid Can Dream, and it's like this little boy looking off into these mega cities, and like the story behind it is that like uh, he wants to be like a motorcycle racer basically, but he's basically looking off into this giant city. He has huge dreams and aspirations, and I see that like as myself having dreams and aspirations in baseball and art. So yeah, so I'd say sometimes it's me, sometimes it's just a character I want to portray, and I think it having the person there adds a sense of like the scale and the overwhelming city that I'm trying to portray. Right? It's like, wow, this person is such a small portion of this world that I'm building. But also they have it always seems to come back to like having dreams and aspirations. So that's kind of like where where that person is coming from.
Yeah, I want to apologize to all the audio listeners who are not able to see what I'm pulling up on the
Yeah.
screen, but I've got those pieces. The piece that that Ronan was bidding on, what was the name of that one with the guy sitting down there
Yeah,
on the street?
that was Burnout.
Okay, I,
So
I
that one,
I thought that was
yeah,
a
go ahead.
great representation of the scale that you mentioned, right? Because
Yeah,
it's a visual representation of how massive sometimes this NFT space has gotten, especially the people that have been around for 2 years and
Exactly.
plus.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to get at because I was literally feeling burnt out. I was like, holy cow, man! Like being on Twitter all day and like trying to do everything and like managing my social medias and my Discord and making art and doing baseball. Like everything just felt like super, like just felt like too much, and I was getting burnt out. So I was like, all right, like why don't I make an art piece about it? So yeah, I put that little motorcycle rider like sitting there, and it's kind of like the play on words of like doing a burnout with your motorcycle, and then like being burnt out in the space. So yeah, that was the motivation behind that one. And yeah, Ronan, he did his best, but ended up losing out. But it's all good. I can't thank him enough for bidding on it, nonetheless.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to the chat here. Louis C. Rhymes, Hash Rhymes. That's interesting, both ending with rhymes. Prodigy, DJ Savage, Crypto Buffalo, of course, who knocked that 1 of 3 on you in a double.
Yeah,
Matt Radke, Digits, Asmodai. Thank you guys for showing up here today. Definitely comment along if you want me to ask any questions to Tommy here. So I want to stay in the art a little bit longer. I had planned to talk about how MLB is doing their NFT drops and what your thoughts are on sports
for sure.
NFTs, but I want to stay in the
Yeah,
art, man. Like there was you were doing like a challenge about some type of hint that was happening inside of the city.
yeah,
Like tell me a little
yeah.
bit about like the details within these cities, right? Because there's Asian influence in there, like down to
Yeah.
like even the smallest detail. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. So I get a lot of inspiration from this city in Hong Kong. I'm gonna butcher the name, so I'm not even gonna try. But I kind of got into this rabbit hole of this one city, and it's like everything is just like stacked on top of each other, like apartment complexes and hotels and buildings and like shops, and it's like super super packed on top of each other. So that's kind of where that Asian inspiration comes from. And then yeah, the details honestly are just like a fun thing for me to like throw little things in there that like I know most people aren't gonna see. I like to throw my crypto in there just because why not? That's a fun thing.
Is he always in there?
Um, it's in I want to say like the last two or three of them I threw it in there.
I'm looking.
Um, and then yeah, and then I threw in that little sticker from Alpha Centauri Kid, his drop that he had on Christie's, which I thought was brilliant. Where like I think it was Punk 6529 bought his piece, and then like as soon as he bought it, it like changed to that little Pepe holding the balloons, and I just loved that. So I like turned that into like a little sticker on the top left, like up in the corner, just for fun. I figured nobody would see it, but I had to point it out just because it was fun to throw in there. So I just like to throw little details in there just for kicks.
Love it, man. What's the upcoming drop schedule here for you? Do you work on like a timeline? What's a schedule for an artist look like? I guess it changes from artist to artist, right? But for yourself,
For sure.
what can we look forward to?
Yeah, I think I don't really like plan it out very much unless it's like with a different like brand like Nifty Gateway. That's very planned out and whatnot. But as far as my stuff, I like to keep most of my stuff on Super Rare. I don't have anything like any dates planned. I'm working on stuff. I'm trying to build out my Knight Rider series a little more, which is like a series of motorcycle riders like with cool sci-fi helmets. That's just purely like a fun art project for myself. So yeah, that's like I guess my quote unquote PFP project. That's not really a PFP project. It's just art, just for fun.
Do you
So
tell me
yeah,
about this Knight Rider series because I love it as a PFP. Like you got it as your profile
yeah,
picture right now. Tell me a little bit
yeah.
about this. Like what is the floor price for these things? Are you selling them actively? How does that work?
Yeah, so I've sold three. I've done them all one at a time, like via
Oh,
24-hour auction. Just started it at point 0.1 ETH just for, to get some more people involved and whatnot. They've all sold from like point 0.7 to 1 ETH. And yeah, I'm kind of just like dropping them one at a time whenever I finish one. And yeah, I mean that's about it. I don't think there's a floor price. I think they're all being
got it.
held by their respective collectors. Marcus Stroman actually bought the second one, which was really cool. So that was big out of him, and yeah, it's just a fun project for me.
That's sick, man. All right, let's
Yeah.
transition to. I think this is good. We have a perfect segue into sports NFTs. We might come back to the art and all this other
No
stuff we've been
problem.
talking about, of course. But you mentioned Marcus Stroman. How
Yeah.
have you seen the adoption of NFTs within the MLB, within maybe your own locker room?
For sure.
How have you seen the NFT adoption here over the last 2 years?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I like still a lot of the guys like on the teams don't really know much about it. Now that I'm with a new team, I don't think anybody on the Orioles really knows that what I'm doing outside of baseball. But I had a lot of friends with the Mets that were kind of like, up to date with me, and I was keeping them up to date. Like, dude, you got to check this out, you got to check that out, trying to get them into it. But it, obviously, like most NFTs, it's a pretty high entry price, so a lot of them didn't really like have much interest, but they weren't honestly opposed to it, and they were like super supportive of everything I was doing, which was cool. And yeah, and MLB obviously getting into it with Candy and whatnot. So it's cool. I mean, it's great to see adoption. I have a few gripes about it, but yeah, I mean, it's getting there.
Gripes about the MLB distribution or the sale that they've gone about. Is that what you mean? How they've gone about the
Yeah,
NFT
so
piece?
it's mostly they did a like a Future Stars drop. This was a while ago when Candy like first came out. They did a Future Stars drop, and it pulled in like something crazy, obviously like 1.5 million, 1.7 million, something like that. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like minor leaguers, like getting paid for NFTs or whatever. Really cool way to support minor leaguers because obviously minor leaguers are we're all struggling. We're all not getting paid very much. So I was a little hesitant about it though. I was like, I'm not really sure like what's going down here. So I actually messaged a mutual friend who knew one of the guys on the drop, and he hadn't even heard of it. So it was frustrating to see that group of prospects got $0 from that. So yeah, off of a $1.5 million drop.
Holy
So
shit.
that was frustrating for sure. And honestly, like I wanted to collect from Candy because I was like MLB NFT is very cool. And then once that happened, I was super out, and I will be until something is done about that because that's a ton of money, obviously for. And the reason that they're making this money is because of those guys, and it's not illegal because MLB owns all of our
Yeah.
like IP stuff. They can do whatever they want with it. But it's just frustrating to see like the continued usage of minor leaguers getting taken advantage of. So
Did you
it's
catch the
frustrating.
Did you catch the latest 30 for 30? I think it aired like last night or something like that. It was on and one basketball and like the
I
and one
haven't seen it
mix.
yet.
Dude, you should watch it, man, because it touches on like how and one took over the street game with like all those mixtapes and
Right,
the athletes being featured on the and one mixtapes that were selling all of these as they became more viral.
right,
They got nothing the first volume drop. So I think there's an interesting parallel there.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I feel like every sport is trying, of course, like just any I guess company in any industry, at least that is like forward thinking, is trying to get into NFTs, each going about it in a different way. Like NBA, of course,
Right.
had that extremely successful platform, NBA Top Shot, launch on Flow. I think the MLB did some things with Wax, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Uh,
tops it with wax. Yeah.
Tops was on Wax. Like there's other sports, obviously NFL all day. What do you make of each sports kind of transition into the NFT space? What do you like about how they've gone about it? And what don't you like besides what we can get into later, of course, with this payment of two athletes?
Right. Yeah, I mean I think it's great. I think they're all yeah, I don't know, it's tricky. I would love to see the first sports organization get on Ethereum. I think that would be super cool. Um, but I don't think that's as cost effective, obviously, for them. But I think, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because, like, you got to wonder their incentives, right? Like, what percent of the NFL wants to get involved with fans versus seeing, oh, we can make a lot of money off of NFTs. You know what I mean? So I always have to think about their incentive behind it, and so I think that's where it gets tricky with being on different blockchains. I think that like being on the Ethereum blockchain is a, a clear indicator that they're less in it for the money, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Rather than like building their own blockchain or putting it on Flow or whatever. Obviously, very much more cost effective and whatnot. So I think it's great, and it's obviously like a lot of people love it, and the fans love it, which is cool. So I don't know, it's tricky. I haven't gotten that much into it myself. I did some NBA Top Shot collecting at the very beginning. Proceeded to get absolutely wrecked. So it is what it is.
What do you like about the NBA Top Shot platform? Because just to kind of segue here into Wax as well with the MLB drop. Like, I'm not a big fan of Wax. I don't really like the way that they went about that drop either. I don't really even trade those assets anymore in general on that chain. But let's talk about like what maybe you liked on NBA Top Shot when it was first existing and not wrecking all of us.
Yeah, I think I liked the user experience a lot and the user interface. I think it was a really cool pack opening experience with the music and the animations. I think were all really fantastic. And even I thought that the line system wasn't the worst. Like I think that there's been much worse drops, and I think that they kind of were starting something that eventually had to get figured out. So I think that was cool, and those were all kind of the positives that I took out of it, at least. And it was fun. I mean, it was a fun experience for a while, and kind of like a fun new thing. So I would say those were the positives I saw.
So let's talk about Wax. We're not going to put the MLB on blast here, but
It's terrible. I tried to get those packs, dude. It was so bad.
Well, let's put them on blast then.
Yeah, dude. I'll put them on blast, man. That was bad. That was so bad. I tried. I tried to get packs on that first drop, and it was terrible. I couldn't even figure out. I had to do all sorts. I had to do like 5 pages of steps just to get to like my complete purchase, and then like I purchased the packs and didn't get any packs, so I had to like go in and get my money back and whatnot. So it was a struggle for real. But that's what happens. Got to get on Ethereum, man.
Has there been any updates with like the MLB integrating NFTs past that drop? That happened a long time ago, so I'm assuming there have been some other things that have dropped. Have there been?
I'm not really sure. I know that Fanatics acquired Tops. I believe they purchased Tops. So I'm not sure if they have any plans of integrating NFTs or whatnot. But I haven't really heard anything honestly since then. And obviously, I think that they're doing stuff with Candy and whatnot. But that's all I know as far as that goes.
So if you have a magic wand, you're the commissioner of a sports league like the MLB. Like, and you can implement any type of integration in NFTs possible. What are some things that you would do if you could wave that wand tomorrow and make it happen?
Honestly, I think that like I would love to make tickets NFTs. There's actually like a massive market for ticket stubs, right? And like even as we saw with the Orioles, a lot of people are doing digital tickets now, obviously on their phone because it's much easier. But like last week or 2 weeks ago, Adley Rutschman made his debut, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I want the ticket." So they gave out like a souvenir ticket, but it's like, how sick would it be like to get like an NFT ticket, right? And then it's like you don't really have to worry about losing it. Like I know I personally went to Bryce Harper's debut at Dodger Stadium a while back, and obviously I have no idea where that ticket is, but if it was an NFT, like I could still have it. So that would be something I think I would love to do and make like maybe like a redeemable NFT. Like you have proof that you went to the game, so you can get your ticket stub as an NFT, right? And then resell it, and then you don't have to get it graded and whatnot. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I got some other pieces here that I want to touch on. I know you only have like 10 more minutes. I'm interested in these first athletes that have come out into the NFT space over the past, again, we keep coming back to this 2-year mark, but Des Bryant is another big athlete that's gotten into this space. There have been a ton that have like tried to champion this idea of let's integrate NFTs into sports, into football, into baseball, these ways from the player standpoint and not the league. What is your standpoint there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I haven't really been following Des Bryant much and what he's doing in that regard, but I know he was working with like Jimmy and stuff on like a platform or something. But I think it's great. I think it's any step towards like empowering the athletes is great, and getting the most value for them for what they're providing, right? And not like having the NFL or the MLB suck out the value of the minor leaguers, or the lesser known football players or and whatnot. So yeah, I think any step in the right direction is fantastic, and yeah, hopefully Dez and whoever wants to jump in on this NFT scene can make a cool splash.
I'm forgetting the name. I think it's the Players Lounge. This was by Aaron Murray and Keith Marshall. We had them on the channel a while back.
Okay.
Have you heard
Yeah,
about the Players Lounge at all?
haven't heard of it.
Dude, you should look this up, man. They're actually like, because I think the problem with the non-league NFTs, in my opinion, is like it's gonna be harder to scale that, right? Like
Yeah,
like how do you even begin to start talking about scaling when it's
yeah,
each individual
for
player?
sure.
These guys are doing it with like college athletes, so it's like using the
Okay.
NIL and
Yeah,
using like, so they started with the Georgia Bulldogs, where they launched
right,
these Georgia Bulldogs NFTs, quote unquote, not with like any Georgia stuff on them, but with Bulldogs.
right,
And then they
right,
added all of these other athletes that were current college players or former, and then they started adding utility to those NFTs. And then
right.
once you do that, you can scale it to not UGA, but I'm an Auburn Tiger, so maybe the
Right.
Auburn, you get it like Bo Jackson or maybe some other lesser known college athletes. I wonder if you couldn't
Right.
do that for
Yeah.
college baseball. That would be sick.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be super cool. I think that's where like the cool part about NFTs and utility comes into play, right? Like I think like a minor league baseball player may not be the most savvy with art, right? But he can make an NFT if he's a top prospect, right? And he's like, hey, like you buy this NFT, right? And you can redeem it for a signed baseball or a game used bat or a signed card or something, right? Like some sort of like interaction or like tickets to a game, all sorts of stuff, right? So I think that's a super cool aspect of NFTs, and could be like where that that value for the players comes in. So I like that a lot.
And you did this with a bat, correct? Like it was it an NFT
Yeah.
specifically that you were able to sell? Like that was also a physical bat that had your artwork on it.
Yeah, so that was a collab with Carlos Marcial that we did a while ago. We made the virtual bat first, and then like after we minted it, like right after we minted it, we are like, dude, let's make it a physical bat. And I was like, okay, sure. So that was super cool. Yeah, I just took a bat to a like a car vinyl wrap company, and I was like, could you wrap a baseball bat possibly? And they were like, yeah, just give us the design. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I wrapped the physical bat in my art and ended up selling it with the NFT. So that was cool.
And that was a successful sale as well. Like I think it went up to like 20K or something, or like close near it.
Yeah, that was my all-time high for sure at the time, which was like 10 ETH. And yeah, that was pretty cool.
Dude, I was listening to a podcast that you were mentioning this on, and it got my wheels spinning, man. I'm like, that sounds like a really dope business idea.
Yeah.
You could wrap a helmet. I'm a big
Oh
Cowboys
yeah,
fan. You could wrap a Cowboys helmet with the art of maybe a former player or something like that. I think
sure. Yeah,
you guys,
absolutely.
I don't know. I'm going off into the clouds right now, man. You got to bring me back down.
You're good. You're good.
Prodigy's bringing us back down. He's saying, best question: who is winning the World Series this year? Tommy's prediction.
Oh man, I mean, that's a tough question. Obviously, Orioles, of course.
There you go.
But other than the Orioles, Dodgers are looking strong, man. Yankees are looking strong. Giants are looking strong. Who else do we got out there looking strong right now? I haven't been following all that much. I'm trying to think who else we got. But yeah, those are all looking strong right now. I mean, the Yankees are kind of a force to be reckoned with right now. So we'll see if they can hang on.
I got you. A couple more questions here. It looks like Prodigy's
Yeah.
also asking, did you get a goblin? We also had Matt Radke come through saying Irish Players Club, and AgroCat saying NFT tickets is a great idea. So, did you get a goblin?
Yeah. No, no. I have this like rule with myself that like when I'm buying PFPs, like I have to like the art because like if I get stuck with it, like I don't want to be looking at it in my collection, right? So I looked at the goblins. I was like, that's got to be the ugliest thing I've ever seen. So I'm not gonna buy it. So yeah, no, have no goblins, and I am not a supporter of the goblin movement.
Oh
Just
man.
purely salty, obviously. But yeah, so not for me.
What AgroCat saying? Would you consider using AR in your artwork?
Great question. Also, shout out to Agro Legend. I literally got on this morning to this new thing called Mid Journey, and it's like a artificial intelligence bot that like creates art with your like your words, and like you give it a prompt or whatever. So I was literally messing around with that like about an hour before we got onto this. So might mess around and use it in some of my pieces. I don't know. It's super fun to mess around with and super mind blowing. Like how amazing this technology is. Like I really can't believe it. So yeah. So maybe I don't know. We'll see. It's fun to play around with. I might end up using it.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. I always like connecting with people that have been around in the space for a minute and hearing their backstories and how they've
Yeah,
grown
man.
in the space. So looking forward to seeing how you evolve. Looking forward to seeing your first game in an Orioles uniform. Would love to
Thank
see
you, man.
that, man. That would be sick. So
Thank you.
any last pieces you want to touch on before you get out of here? I noticed you didn't mention as well that the Pirates weren't in that conversation of the World Series, which is completely fine. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Sorry about that.
nah, you're good. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, they're struggling a little bit, but it's all good. But yeah, I don't have much. I just thank you for having me on, and yeah, and it's just stoked to be a part of this space per usual, and just very grateful for everybody showing up here in the live stream.
Awesome, man. If you ever get the chance, we do NFT lives because we're getting some comments on having you on NFT lives. They're like roundtable discussions, like 4 people. Anybody can
Right.
come on and join. If you ever want to, join those conversations, talk on the space, we'd love to have you on NFT live. But just happy to get you on the
That'd be
Nifty Q
sweet.
show here, man. So appreciate it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right, guys, we are getting up out of here. Tomorrow we have Ben from Crypto Voxels on the channel. That's going to be a good discussion. Actually, no, that's next week. Sorry, Charged Particles. Don't kill me. There's 2 Bens there, so I got mistaken. All right, guys, see you later.